And we're live.
What up, y'all? Welcome back to Out of the Darkness. Man, I'm so excited to be back. It's been a while. It's been too long. Sorry for y'all. I was a little depressed and a little inebriated after the election, but I'm doing better. I'm feeling better. And boy, we've got a hell of a show for y'all. We're going to have a good time tonight. So we decided to come back and do a little chill stream. And that's just time we're going to get a chance to visit, talk about some current events, have a little bit of fun. We're going to do everything we can to get kicked off of YouTube tonight. So pour you a cup of your favorite drink, sit down and enjoy, and send us a chat. But before we get going, hey, be sure to subscribe, to like the video. And yeah, look forward to hearing from you guys, hearing what you guys have to say. But yeah, so Soter, what's going on, man? You doing all right?
Well, I'm doing okay. I'm just really tired lately. This last week, Diet Soter's been making me walk every day for like 20, 30 minutes.
As opposed to what?
As opposed to not walking.
All right. So sorry. Hold on. Just so we're clear on something. I am 100% American, my man. So when I ask you how you're doing, the correct response is fine.
Sorry.
Didn't really want to hear about your walking extravagance.
Slight variation is if I got any better, I couldn't. If I got any better, I couldn't stand myself.
There you go. If I were any better, it'd be two of me. Those are acceptable answers. The flaw in your thinking is that I actually wanted to hear about your wife making you walk.
Same shit, different asshole also applies. I got a million of these comebacks. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody actually cares when they ask.
So church. So I'm originally from Texas, born and bred there. And my parents decided, so of all the places in the whole wide world for my parents to decide to move, they moved me to Alaska, right? So my formative years as a child were in Alaska, my teenage years, and then I moved back down to Texas for college, and essentially grew up there. So, but Texas is still home. It's hard to get out. So when someone asks me that question, hey, how's it been? What you been up to? It's usually working like a dog and living like a monk, just because, how much more Texas can you get? But I'm just joking. So how far have you been walking, man? So you've been like walking a mile, walking a half mile, like walking for 30 minutes. What's the deal?
I've been aiming to go about 0.69 miles.
Points. that everybody's got goals. Everybody's got goals. So that's fantastic. So how's it going?
I'm a lot tireder in the evening. I am so tired tonight. It's unreal. I didn't think I'd be this tired. I tried to take a nap earlier, sort of did, but holy cow. Even that little bit of walking just like makes you tired, or at least it makes me tired. Maybe I'm just so out of shape.
Okay. Well, but one thing that most people don't realize about you is you're not just a pretty face. Like, you are a deadly machine. Aren't you like a 3rd or 4th degree black belt?
Only a 1st degree. I ended up quitting when I had kids.
That's pretty impressive, though. 1st degree black belt. So you're no slouch.
Back in the day, I wasn't.
Yeah. So, Church, would you have known that? I mean, Soter got them hands, man.
Soter's got them hands. Unfortunately, all of his other deadly weapons are at the bottom of a lake somewhere. So, I mean, he needed a way to defend himself. I understand.
Hey, absolutely.
Well, ironically, these were registered before I got guns. So.
Okay. All right. Well,
right. He's not from the South. Where are you originally from, Soter? Like, what area?
Sorry,
really?
Soda.
Okay, I was about to say, like, when you're born in the South, they just give you a firearm, like, as a birthright. And it's just like, here you go. Here's a rifle. Here's a shotgun. I'm sure you already know how to use these. Here's some clippers for the beard you already have.
Go get a squirrel for supper, son.
Hey man, don't knock it. Don't knock it, boy.
Well, I'm not knocking it. I'm just
that
saying
squirrel's good eating, man.
That's why you give your son a little 22 so he could go get dinner.
Right. He comes back with dinner and a job as an infant, as a newborn.
Oh man. So we got to talk. We got to address the elephant in the room, man. So Church, you were on the
I've
live.
lost 20 pounds.
you were on the live stream with us election night, and we got to talking, and we were watching the results come in. And to be brutally honest, I went to bed, man. I went to bed thinking Trump's got this in the bag. Like, it's a done deal. Like, this is over. There's 150 ways for him to win. He's overperforming. I mean, I want to say, I work really, really hard with Blexit. Absolutely love Blexit. And been a big fan of what they do and what they stand for. But our goal was to get 20% of the black vote in 2020. And when it was all said and done, we got about 25% of the black vote nationally. Okay. Dude, we had 33% of black male voters in the Midwest.
All the dead votes?
Well, hey, at any rate, right? It was always believed that if the Republicans could ever break that 14% mark, right? They could ever break that, they would have a great chance of running the table. Man, I woke up at 4:00 in the morning and everything had changed. It was absolutely insane. And now
it's because you went to bed, Q, that they were able to sneak all those ballots in.
I should have stayed
You weren't
up.
watching. Yeah, you weren't watching.
I didn't. I didn't. I thought that was your job, man. I tagged you in. You didn't know?
Did you not hear how fucking drunk I was that night? I was in a celebration bottle, Q. I had popped open the good stuff.
See that's the problem. See now you never start celebrating before you get across the goal line. You know better than that.
Well, I mean, or you celebrate with someone else's. Like I had an Indian give me celebratory booze.
Which kind of Indian? Dot or feathers?
Red dot or
feather.
tomahawk?
Lost from Nick's stream that night.
Oh, okay. No, I was on with you guys. I was on with Don. I did a little something with my co-host. No, it was a good night. And then we all woke up the next morning, and apparently, all of these ballots that had come into these states with surprise water leaks, and they had to supposedly stop counting for the night. They magically started counting again about 2 a.m. And
they must have heard I had dozed off. Man, yeah. So
asleep. Fed post.
But let's delve into that though. I mean, so I'm if you're watching the mainstream media, you're watching that garbage right now. If you're watching YouTube or watching for a lot of the platforms on YouTube, it's a lot of bullcrap, right? I mean, where's the proof? Where's the proof? I don't know how anyone seriously could watch everything that happened and all the irregularities that took place and say, yeah, it was completely free and fair, right?
I hear you on that, but I counterpoint and say, I can't believe that I've sat back for the last 8 months and watched our country give away every bit of its, civil rights over the flu.
And it is so fun to listen to a white man from the South talk to me about civil rights. Oh my God. It is a dream. It is a dream come true.
Hey, you got yours in the 60s. Don't give me that. I'm just fucking with you. I'm sorry.
Sorry. Did someone step on your white civil rights? You poor thing.
No, I'm not talking about just white people. I'm not talking about
let me get this doll and tell me where in your civil rights did they touch it?
Right in the mask hole.
Did they touch your civil rights?
Hole?
Right in the mask hole.
No, but I mean, you look at places like California, you look at places like New York, these states that have just completely and utterly sat down and shut up about the fact that, we're just going to listen to the governor, and he's already killed all of our old people, so this thing got to be under control. He's got to know what he's doing. And I'm looking at that, and on a national level, yeah, those same people are the ones going, well, Trump lost. There's nothing wrong with the fact that, you know, hundreds of thousands of votes came in the middle of the night when no one was watching.
You know, I try to be fair about all this. I try to be fair as best I can. It's not easy. It's not easy. Being unbiased and being fair is probably one of the tougher things that you can do, especially when you have strong opinions.
Right.
After the 2016 election, I was really frustrated with the other side, right? I was frustrated with them because, you know, it was, oh, Trump stole the election and the Russians interfered and the Russians did this and Trump was in bed with the Russians and he's a Russian agent. He's a Russian asset, right? And I was sitting there and I'm watching that and I'm watching all the bitching and all the complaining that's going on. And my immediate response was, who was the president? Wasn't Obama the president? Wasn't it his job to ensure that we had a free and fair election? If the Russians figured out a way to interfere with our election, shouldn't that somehow come back and blow back on Obama?
And Obama's wiretaps would have obviously had proof on that.
Right? And it's frustrating because I am watching all this and I'm looking and I'm hearing Trump do a lot of complaining. I'm seeing a lot of tweeting. But to be really honest with you, I'm not seeing a whole lot of firm action going along with the bitching, right? And to be even more honest, who the hell would have ever thought that this was going to be a fair election in the first place, right?
Well, I think Riqueda's pointed it out about a dozen times on his show, and I'm sorry to keep cutting in, but no, he's pointed it out about a dozen times. Tell me which election that we've had that's ever been without election fraud.
This is a fair point. This is a fair point, but I don't think I've ever seen anything on this level, right?
Yeah.
I mean, statistically, mathematically, it just does not make sense. I mean, we're looking at some states in Wisconsin. I mean, I'm sorry, some counties in Wisconsin that had over
sort of do.
Yeah, had
sort
over
of do feel like states when you're driving through.
Right. Over 95% of the voters voted. I mean, what election have we ever gotten 95% of the turnout? Yeah. You mean to tell me that I talk to a lot of people. I mean, and I don't talk to people in order to argue with them, but if I see somebody with a Biden hat on, I'll stop and talk to them. And I found like 3 or 4, you know, of the hundreds of people that I ran across that had Biden hats on or Biden shirts, Biden hairs. And I'd ask them, hey, so let me ask you this. I mean, are you truly excited to vote for Joe Biden? Oh, yeah. Well, okay, let me ask you this way. Are you more excited to vote for Joe Biden or are you more excited to vote against Donald Trump? Right. Oh, well, I guess I would have to say I'm more excited to vote against Donald Trump.
Absolutely.
Well, see. But tell me how a man who doesn't have any energy behind him, right? I mean, the guy was getting, you know, 100 to 150 people at his rallies at best, sometimes less.
Right.
But he's getting no energy behind his rallies. He's getting no energy showing up, but somehow he outperforms Obama.
Right.
I mean, the savior.
Well, that's what I was going to bring up is that, you know, you're telling me that the racist white guy and the cop that you guys all have been wanting to defund for the last 8 months, they got more of your votes than, you know, Barack Obama did in 2008 and 2000 and 2004 and 2008, right?
No, 2008, 2012.
Okay. Yeah, you got you got the highest voter turnout in history for Joe Biden. Yeah. I could almost see it if it was the Bernie Sanders election. I could almost see that. You know, I could almost see it if it was an Andrew Yang. But
you know what? And had it been either of those guys, had it been concerned about Trump. But I'm not living under a rock. I'm not living, you know, in a bubble, you know. But that brings me to my next point. You know, we have to at some point sit down and we have to look at these I do think that Trump has a legitimate shot to get this turned around, right? I do think he has a legitimate shot to get these things overturned. And I think tomorrow we'll be having a discussion with Riqueda. He's going to be coming on a special stream. I'll go ahead and let that cat out of the bag. And yeah, and because from what I hear from talking to him, he doesn't seem to believe that these lawsuits are going to get the job done. I do.
No.
I do believe that I believe they're going to get the job done. I think that there's going to be enough doubt that they're going to have to turn it over to the states, or turn it over to the House of Representatives to overturn some of these votes, over some of these state results. I don't see how you could. I mean, when you see this much voter fraud, I mean, how much voter fraud is too much voter fraud?
Any?
Well, I mean, that's what you would think, right? I mean, did anybody ask Pete Rose? Okay, wait, hold on. How many times did you bet on games? No, you bet on games. You cheated. You're out, right? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, whether or not Lance Armstrong juiced every single race, or whether or not he juiced one, what does it matter? He violated the rules. Therefore, he has to be punished as a result of that. I mean, am I being way too dogmatic about this?
Where are you saying that Biden should be tossed out of the election for the fraud that happened? Or the people that we were catching?
The people that are being caught, but you have to.
Okay.
If you're seeing dead people voting, I mean, in the thousands, dead people voting, that should automatically re-trigger an audit, right?
I mean, it's dead people. It's people out of the county, out of the state. People voting twice, absentee ballots and in-person ballots. There's just so much. And the thing that I have the biggest problem with, and forgive me, but I'm an avid listener of Ricada, and I've heard all of his black pills in the past, or excuse me, African American pills. But I've heard all of his thoughts on this stuff, and the biggest problem that I have with it is how long it took for any of this evidence to start trickling out. I mean, if I was Trump, I would have been like, next day, any little shred of evidence, the first thing it would have done is gone up on my Twitter account. Hey, look, here's a list of all of these ballots that we found independently that were fraudulent. Even if it was 4, if it was 4 ballots, as soon as it comes out, as soon as it hits my desk, hey, here's the picture, me holding some fake ballots. How about that, y'all? But it took 2-3 weeks after the election for any like concrete evidence to start showing up in court.
Yeah.
And and putting Rudy Giuliani in charge of that court case, that was a disaster.
And he's got COVID now.
Of course he does.
He does. He's got COVID. He got diagnosed today. He is in the hospital as we speak.
Jesus
Christ. Oh no.
Yeah.
I hope his fake hair color protects him.
Right.
Well,
there's some tea in there or something.
Get him a cigar and a glass of brandy.
I'm not trying to be an ass, guys, but I mean, in all fairness, Rudy Giuliani doesn't look like a picture of health, man.
No,
like he's. Oh, sorry. Rudy Giuliani doesn't look. Sorry, guys.
You sound like me there.
Yeah, hey, you know what? It just didn't seem boomerish enough. I had to boomer it up.
Are you stealing my voice? Are you copying my voice and transcribing?
Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah.
So that you can vote as me next year.
Yeah, we're gonna be have a full out Church of Failure clone. So yeah, we'll have you'll be my co-host before it's all said and done.
I love Democrats. There you go. You can just clip that one.
I had a chill up my spine. All right, so but
Church said he loves Democrats.
But Church, so we have to have a legitimate conversation about this too. So I hold Democrats. I mean, there's some good people who are legitimately, sincerely wrong, right? I'm not going to say all Democrats are bad. This progressive movement, the Marxism of the new Democrat Party, or this current Democrat platform is very Marxist, and I don't like anything about that. But I'm not going to indict everyone who voted Democrat. Okay. But I will say something about the straight up libertarians. Okay. If we know this election meant as much to the country as it does,
Right.
and we were dealing with two choices, binary choices, because I don't care what you say, it was a binary choice.
Mhm.
We're looking at two platforms that are so incredibly opposed. How, as a libertarian, as a freedom-loving individual, could you look at those two choices and say, yep, Biden's my guy? How could you complain about what Trump has done to bump stocks, yet vote for a guy who wants to completely demolish the Second Amendment? And that's not me saying it. That's
not a
reading his
metaphor.
that is reading his own website. Him talking about a gun registry for AR-15s. I'm sorry, AR-14s, right? Him talking about
I believe it's AR-47s.
AR-47s, right?
AK-15s and AR-47s have got to go.
and talking about, people who are not currently able to take care of their own financial affairs need to have their gun privileges taken away. I mean, how could you listen to those things and say, yeah, I'm going to pull the trigger for a third party? I mean, I find myself calling bullshit on whatever it is that you hold as a reason. If you're going to complain about Trump, but then turn around and vote for a third party or vote for Biden, I think it's laughable.
Well,
how do you feel about it?
Well, I mean, who was the lovely Texas gentleman who was on the show with us with Don prior to the election?
Randy.
Yeah, it was Randy, I believe.
Yeah.
We all sat here and we picked apart, Biden's Second Amendment, plans and the things that he said. And, as anybody who is even somewhat center, especially a Midwesterner, now Midwesterners are not Republican by default. However, they do typically vote Republican because of that First and Second Amendment thing that Republicans seem to want to uphold more often recently than not. So to think that there was ever a chance that there would be a majority vote for a Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, especially when you take into account all of the BLM stuff. Like I look at BLM and I say, okay, this is a group that has come out and they have said, all cops are bastards. That's one of their slogans. They're very anti-racist. They hate racism. They think that there's a systemic racism problem in this country. So they vote a known racist and a cop into the White House. I just can't. It boggles the imagination. I mean, every bit of BLM charity fundraising money went directly into the Democrats' pockets.
Yeah.
It was the biggest grift of all time. That should make Rekieta blush.
No, there's a bigger grift. There's a grift that makes Nick Rekieta's grift look like the Catholic All Saints Hospital. And
Please
that is
us.
Black Rifle Coffee.
Oh, okay. Tell me about how that's a grift. Oh, because they said they had no affiliation.
No, because their CEO gives to Share Blue.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
That's why. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Came out with the Kyle Rittenhouse stuff. They found Black Rifle or him give money to Share Blue. Like,
fantastic.
I can't say I've bought their coffee because, I'm more of a cheap coffee snob. But
if you like Black Rifle coffee and are looking to step away, give Death Wish coffee a try. They are fantastic.
Well, Black Rifle coffee is my stuff, man. Now, thanks a lot, Soter. You've messed it up for me.
I'm glad
DeathWishCoffee.com.
Black Rifle pill you.
So, but it's legitimate. It's legitimate discussion, though, right? Church,
right?
I mean, you absolutely hate systemic racism, right?
Mm-hmm.
You tell me that you hate the idea that black people are being thrown into prisons, and we have this school to prison pipeline. But then you vote for a woman who hides exculpatory evidence in order to throw black men in prison, right?
And you vote against the man who has released more African Americans from prison on nonviolent offenses than any other president in history.
Well, but that brings us to our other discussion, though. Do you know how many people in America have no clue about that? I mean,
most of them.
Most don't. I've had discussions with people, and I've talked to them about the First Step Act. They had no idea what I was talking about. You know, I mean, you think about this. What type of victory do you think Trump would have won if the media was covered him like they covered Obama?
I honestly think that we would have seen 80 million votes for Trump. I honestly think that it would have been reverse numbers easily, or it would have been like 80 million to 40 million. It would have been a complete and utter blowout. Because the thing is you look at the idea that, okay, Trump's an asshole. Okay, I'll be the first one to say it. Trump's an asshole. Nobody can contest that fact. But he hasn't been a bad president. No new wars. He's moving the troops out of places that they don't need to be in. He's releasing criminals on nonviolent offenses. He's working hand in hand to bring North and South Korea to the table, two of the biggest nuclear fears that we have. He's taxing China and reducing the debt to America. I mean, he's doing so many things that people just don't give him credit for because Orange Man bad.
So this is interesting, right? So because I've had the discussions with, I'll have this discussion here on this show about, and we'll roast Democrats today. Okay,
sure. Always fun. Chestnuts on an open flame.
But next show, and I get a chance, I'm going to roast conservatives because I have some major issues with conservatives, especially when we talk about these neocons,
rhinos,
and these rhinos, this Lincoln Project group, and black
Paul Ryan coming for that ass.
And black conservatives are some of the worst. All right, so we'll have that discussion. But as for right now, let's go back to talking about something. You mentioned, Orange Man bad and people feeling a certain way about Trump and all that. And yeah, but we talk about it, whenever I bring up conservatism. I always get all these, white people that say, well, the Republicans are the ones that freed the slaves. And the Republicans were the party of black people, and all that's true. And then you get some jackass that starts talking, well, there was the great switch. There's this big switch, and right. What used to be Republican is now Democrat, and what used to be Democrat is now Republican.
That's half right.
Well, but you know what?
We had a party called the Whigs back then, and nobody seems to remember that.
but follow me on something here. Mm-hmm. So you're about my age, right? So you're old enough to remember
33.
You're only 33?
Only 33, sir.
Golly, you're young. All right, so
but I'm an old soul. I'm an old soul.
You're an old soul, and you are somewhat of a political junkie, also. So
yes.
So this won't be lost on you. So my argument has always been, come on now. I mean, if you fought against someone tooth and nail, right? And now all of a sudden you're going to say, well, your party's junk and your policies have failed. We went ahead and abolished slavery, which is probably one of the greatest feats of any political party, if you're going to be honest. I mean, that's I mean, imagine if slavery were still in existence now and we had to rely on Congress.
Oh God.
Well, it is. What do you think
Just not. Oh, go ahead.
all the illegal immigrants are? Right.
Well,
I was going to say that the workforce is somewhat, becoming a form of slavery in a certain sense of the word, because.
All right,
but
I told you my goal was to get kicked off of YouTube. It's not illegal immigrants; it's illegal aliens. But go ahead.
No, the workforce bringing in people from out of the country, and these asylum movements, and mass importing of people from Mexico and the Middle East. It all boils down to an ability to keep wages down while ever increasing, just and don't get me wrong, I'm all for capitalism, but capitalism doesn't work under the current system if we didn't have massive amounts of immigration, because there's no way that an American with a family can work a full-time, that two Americans can work a full-time job for under $8 an hour in some states, and support that family, and keep a house over their head and keep the electricity on and feed themselves. And if the idea is to stay off the government dole, then I mean, it just doesn't work. So you're looking at a situation where everybody's blaming the Democrats and saying, "Oh, well, you're just importing voters," but at the same time, these neocons and these rhinos are all for this mass immigration for the same fact, because it keeps the workforce cheap while allowing inflation to increase and increase. And it's such a shifty system.
It is, but my point was in line with that, right? It sounded completely crazy to me that a party would make a switch. What has happened in the last 4 years is we've seen another switch. We really have, because all of the policies that Donald Trump subscribes to, well, not all of them, but many of his most popular policies, America First, Buy American, doing away with illegal immigration, bringing back manufacturing, right? All those types of things, those were Democrat platform. I mean, that was a Democrat platform in the 70s and 80s, was it not?
Right. Yeah. Well,
I mean,
to a certain degree, yeah.
To a certain degree, I mean, that they were always the party of the worker, always the party of the laborer, always the party of, Buy American. I mean, that was.
And people can look to Reaganomics and the Ronald Reagan administration for being part of the culprits for destroying the minority family unit. Introducing welfare, introducing the idea that a single African American female can make more money on welfare than she can with a father in the home.
Well, I mean, we'll have to go back to Lyndon B. Johnson to really start that argument. But I do hold Reagan responsible for
and he was the Teflon Don.
Well, the war on drugs, right? I mean, crack cocaine and the prosecution of crack cocaine, the introduction of crack cocaine. I believe that a lot of that had to do with Reagan. So I believe that there was a downward spiral. But when you talk about, I mean, because in the early 80s, it wasn't that long ago. I mean, in the early 80s, late 70s, if a man had a job.
You?
700.
80s weren't that long ago.
Okay, no, listen. It's not like we're talking about ancient history, right? In the 80s, right? If you had the early 80s, if you had a job making $15 an hour and you work 60 hours a week. Now I know people say 60 hours a week. I mean,
that was what you did back then.
But I do 60 hours. I work 60 hours in 3 days, right? So
I do it too. Up those numbers.
So, but if you work 60 hours a week, you had a house. Okay, you could own a home. You had 2 cars, decent cars.
Right.
and you were taking a family vacation, a pretty nice family vacation every year, right?
And your wife didn't have to work.
And your wife was at home with your kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now we have two incomes, and you can barely keep both vehicles running and not going on nice vacations.
No.
What happened?
No. I have 3 children, and I have never once been on a nice family vacation because it's just not in the cards. I mean, luckily I'm able to scrape by on one income, and we're able to make it work. But no, I mean, I can't fathom what it would be like if my wife wasn't able to take care of my children, because I've done the math on that. It's a damn house payment, Q, to put one of your children in daycare.
Yeah.
It's a house payment every year. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And that's therein lies the rub, right? The problem that we have is I know in the state of Minnesota, if you are completely on the government dole, right? If you are completely on the government dole, you are, you're taking advantage of all the benefits that are available. Mm-hmm. I would have to make $18 an hour in order to live a life that is comparable, right?
Right.
So really and truly, the culprit is not capitalism. No. The culprit is socialism, right?
Absolutely. Somebody in your chat said it the best. Capitalism can't work when you keep introducing communist ideology into it.
Absolutely. So what we have developed is not pure capitalism. We've developed this Frankenstein, this hybrid system, right?
Bastardization, that really doesn't. I would call it.
Huh?
Bastardization, I would call it.
Absolutely, but it doesn't really work for anybody. Not well, anyway. I mean, it works for us, and don't get me wrong, I'm not bashing America, right? I'm not bashing America. I'm just saying we need to actually have some honest dialogue about where we are and who we are as a people. My next group of people is these dipshits out there right now who are sitting here we're going to rise up. We're going to rise up. Bullshit. This is going to be the start of the Civil War. Bullshit. And the reason why I say that is if you would have told me in 2019 that the United States government was going to determine, and states governments were going to decide which businesses could be open and which businesses that could be closed, that they were going to go to small business owners and they were going to put them out of business for life, that they were going to force people to cover their face everywhere they went, they were going to not allow people to send their kids to school, but yes, they are still going to charge you for your property taxes. Absolutely, you're still going to pay your property taxes,
and you better pay your fucking rent.
Right. Well, no. In the state of Minnesota, you don't have to pay rent. Now, you have to, as a homeowner that's renting your house, as a landlord, you've got to pay your house note. But the people inside your house, they don't have to pay rent. So you have at this point, that went into place? March, Soter?
Yes, I believe it was around. So, it was. If it wasn't in March, it was near enough.
Early April at the latest.
So you got people going, 9 months in that haven't received payment for their properties, right? Because a lot of people aren't paying. If they don't have to pay, they're not paying.
Right.
And so you can't tell me that if someone had told you that we were going to have this shit show in 2019, that you wouldn't have looked at that and you would have said, "Oh man, the boogaloo's coming. We're going to see civil war." If we didn't go to war over what has happened this year, over the trampling of our civil liberties this year, if we haven't risen up as a nation already, and you're not going to do shit when Biden gets office.
Well, we don't have a George Washington, but I want to circle back to something that you had said a few minutes back. We were discussing the shift, quote unquote, in Republicans and how that's kind of lined up with some of the Democratic policies in these neocons. And I actually, I've said this before to a few people personally and in my inner circle, but I feel like it bears repeating. It's not that there's been a shift. It's been more of an unmasking, I think. And I've wanted to point this out to people for a long time. There is no divide between a career Democrat and a career Republican. They're on the same team. They're both politicians. It's a divide between the ruling class and the middle class. It's a divide between the people and our supposed overlords, so to speak. And I'm not saying that every politician out there is gunning for us, but anybody out there that believes this team sport narrative about Republicans and Democrats are locked hand in hand and they can't come to an agreement. How many times did Congress give themselves a pay raise in 2020 when they couldn't come to any kind of agreement on a stimulus package?
Yeah. How
many times did they just say, "Oh, well, we're just going to take another vacation"? It just came out that Congress is going to work 101 whole days in 2021. 101, Q. If you told your, I don't know if you have a supervisor in what you do, but if you did and you told them, "Well, I'm only going to work 101 days next year, boss," how long would you have your job?
Well, you know what?
Am I the only guy here who wants them in Washington less?
It's not that I want them in Washington less.
I would rather they come to me and go, Soter, we only worked 1 day this year. Fantastic. Thank you, guys. You've done a wonderful job.
They get paid for 365 of those days.
Well, and there we go. If you're only going to work a third of the year, you should only get a third of a paycheck. Now, I would like for them to get an
no.
paycheck.
You don't understand. This is the third of their paycheck.
We're not talking about their illegal paycheck, Soter. Calm down. We're not talking about their China and their Ukraine.
If they worked all year, it would be 3.5 the amount that it is.
Okay.
So? Well, like the rest of their time. Now this is.
You mean they'd give themselves raises?
We're getting into the autism. No, well, yeah. If they were working, 3.5 times more than they do now, maybe more like 2.5. But the rest of their time is filled with meetings and fundraisers for the parties and themselves and their campaigns. So I wouldn't say it's like they're not working, but because we look at that when they're in session time, right?
Well, I mean,
like that 101 days is their in session.
Q is from Texas, and he said they have a policy in Texas where Texas judges, at least they're higher up judges, they're elected, right? They're not lifer judges. No. So these guys have to hold down a job, run their campaigns, because they might not win the seat. They have to work their job. Usually they're lawyers, which is fine, but they have to hold down their jobs and then run their campaigns and their fundraisers. They get up at 6 a.m. They're not done until after midnight, and they get up and do it again because Texas wants to have a legislation of the people. We don't have that at the federal level. The legislation we have are career politicians, lifelong lawyers who got grandfathered in by their, dads and moms and friends, uncles, and everything else. We have a group of people who get glad-handed by these lobbies and everything else, and they have no accountability. We, the American people, have given our politicians on a federal level carte blanche to rule our lives with no repercussion. If I have a problem with my, federal representative in Congress and Senate, it's not like the old days back in the 1800s where I could just go punch them in the mouth. They have,
good old days.
They have Secret Service surrounding them. They answer to nobody. They just do what they're going to do.
Well, okay, so that I'm glad you brought that point up, right? I was talking to a friend of mine, and we were discussing the runoff elections over in Georgia, right?
Right.
And they've spent, I mean, how many millions of dollars leading up to November? But so far, since the election, so since November 3rd, they have spent, between the two parties, nearly $500 million. $500 million with an M dollars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're projecting that they're going to spend between 800 million and $1 billion by the time this is all said and done on 2 Senate seats. Now you tell me, how does that work? You want to take more of them?
I tell you, here in South Carolina, every sorry, you cut out. I didn't know you were still going. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm just saying, you tell me that you want to take more of my tax dollars to spend on more programs that I don't qualify for, that my family doesn't qualify for, but you want me to allow you to take out of my paycheck, right, for your own. I don't get in your seat. I'm not told, what that money went to go and pay for, or what those dollars were spent on. I don't get any type of a rundown on where my money went. But you want to continue to take more and more and more, and we're spending $1 billion on 2 Senate seats.
Absolutely.
Are you kidding me?
Do you realize, like, here in South Carolina, up to the election day, up to the day of the election, there was not a day that went by that I didn't get two flyers for Jamie Harrison's campaign. There wasn't a day that went by that I signed on to YouTube that I saw any less than 10 ads against Lindsey Graham.
Yeah.
That's where this money's going. It's going to fucking YouTube. It's going to this platform right here that, when it's all said and done, it's going to have more power than anybody in the federal government.
Well, and there's a huge problem as well, right? I mean, the sheer number of people who get their news, get their information from social media platforms is staggering, absolutely staggering. And we have a problem that has to be dealt with in this country. The problem is I feel like Trump is the first one to come along that has actually made enemies on both sides, and I love it. I absolutely love it, because I don't give two rips about either side either. I've made it very clear I'm a conservative, but I'm not a Republican. I don't consider myself to be a Republican, but I am conservative. If there was a such thing as a conservative Democrat anymore, and they had a platform that I could get behind, I'd vote Democrat.
They tried to push that as the Bill Clinton party.
You know what? The funny part about it is, well, I tell you what, though, in all fairness, if Bill Clinton were to run today on the same policies that he ran on,
I'd vote for Slick Willie in a fucking heartbeat.
Well, look, man, he was extremely conservative, man. I mean, he talked about border security. He talked about rolling back entitlement programs. I mean, it was amazing to hear him. I mean, to go back and listen to some of those things, and I'm like, he was the Democrat darling, really? But we fast forward to now that you're absolutely correct. If you are conservative and you have a conservative message, you're going to be censored. I mean, it is what it is. But yet the money continues to be funneled back through these large media corporations. And it's absolutely frustrating to me, because we are paying them to censor us.
Absolutely.
Do you get that? Do you realize that? We are paying them to censor us. I mean, it's absolutely asinine.
And then we get all riled up on Twitter and give them more AdSense because we see more of their promoted tweets. We get riled up and we go to our conservative pundits on YouTube and we upvote their videos, watching more of those ads. We get YouTube Red so we don't have to see any of the fucking political ads that we didn't like. We go on Facebook and we rant to our friends and family. And then Zuckerberg and Jack show up in Congress and they go, we're not actually censoring conservatives, Mr. Cruz. That's false. And then you go on Twitter and you look at every conservative pundit's post, and it's just like, these claims about election fraud are contested here, and you can link to a broader conversation. Like, fuck off.
No, it's amazing to me. It's absolutely amazing to me, the where we are, and the problem is we get caught in the weeds, right? We get caught in the weeds. Biggest issue,
there it goes again.
you know. What?
You dropped off again for a moment there.
Oh, I'm sorry. But that's one of my issues with Black conservatives. You know, you have this large group of Black conservatives that are trying their best to make it big, right? To be the next Candace Owens, to be the next Brandon Tatum, right? And it's frustrating to me because they pander. They absolutely 100% pander to the other side. Essentially, they're the mouthpiece of, let's give you the we're going to prop you up. Okay, this is white conservative America, right? We're going to prop you up, and we're going to let you say all the things that we're afraid to say, or the things that we're not allowed to say for fear that we will sound racist. So you say it, and then we're going to send your stuff all over to all of our liberal friends and say, look, even Black people say it, right? And they'll buy right into it. They'll buy right into it and eat it all up. And my thing is that the reason why the Republican Party, the reason why conservatism, even though Black people as a collective are extremely conservative people. Okay, maybe not fiscally conservative, but extremely conservative socially. The reason why Black people continue to vote Democrat has more to do with conservatives than it does to do with Democrats, right? Because the only one engaging them on any type of a political scale, the only one that seems to be somewhat interested in educating them are the Dems.
Well, I mean, your alter ego Drexel had a different theory. I don't know if you remember it, because I know you don't remember when you phase into being Drexel.
You son of a bitch! Don't even start with me, man.
All right, I'm kicking him. I'm kicking him.
Yeah, don't.
Banned from studio.
Don't start that shit. All right, go ahead.
But no, Drexel brought up a good point, I thought, and it started out, and I was just kind of like, I don't necessarily believe that, because he said it was about conditioning. You know, your parents vote Democrat, they condition you to vote Democrat, and I'm like, I don't believe that, because I never thought about how my parents voted. I'm sure that 90% of people don't consider how their parents really vote when they, especially all these college kids who are trying to stick it to daddy. But he brought up a really good point, and he said it's not necessarily about the parents, it's about the women in the Black community. And we both know that there is an inordinate amount of single mothers. And single mothers depend a lot on, the welfare, the food stamps, all that stuff. And that there is a disproportionate amount of these African American men who have given up their masculinity in order to basically simp to these Black women. And that they will do whatever they think will get them in the good graces of these Black women. And I'm not sure how on the money he is, but it was a theory that just made a lot of sense as he broke it down. And I'm like, okay, that makes a lot more sense than, oh, well, I'm just doing it to get back, or because it's what my parents said to do. And
so
I'm curious to see your thoughts on that.
What I'll say is this. So there is an issue with the black family. The black nuclear family in the 60s and 70s was a cornerstone of American culture. It really was. It was a powerhouse. So much so, I mean, look at the 80s. If you were going to, or even the 70s per se, if you were going to create content that was going to be consumed by black families, it was going to have to be something like Good Times, right?
Yeah.
Where you had a mother, father in the home who were raising, they might have been poor, they might have lived in the ghetto, but they had strong family values, right? If you were going, Family Matters, even that was like early 90s, right?
Mm-hmm.
You had the Cosby Show, which Bill Cosby
R.I.P. Bill Cosby.
Right. Jello pudding.
And I want some pudding now.
It's the roofies in the pudding pop.
The roofies in the pudding pop. The Jeffersons, right? I mean, so you look back at these shows that you had to show black people and black families in a very positive light and strong black fathers. But I didn't hear exactly what Drexel said, but we've had conversations off camera about this. I know as far as in most black households, and I think in a lot of white households, you don't talk about who you voted for, and you don't ask people who they voted for. I asked Soter, but he wouldn't even tell me, right? Just because I wanted to see if he threw his vote away again.
And he threw it away to Joe Jorgensen. We can see that by the laugh in his face right now.
Oh, that commie and libertarian clothing? No.
Oh, did you write in Boothead? Did you write in Berman?
No, I can't get. See, he's still a commie too. He wants to give everyone ponies.
I would love a pony, Soter. I will take your pony off your hand. I have 2 daughters. Well, they would love ponies.
No. If the feds decided they were going to give everyone a pony, I would take my pony.
Man,
but I don't want that conversation to happen.
You better get in line because I'm still waiting on my 40 acres and my mule. So if you're getting a damn pony.
You got to talk to John Wilkes Booth about that. He off Lincoln before he could put that shit into action. That's not Soter's fault.
So, but I will say this. I will say that this epidemic of single mothers in the black community has been a huge it's done a huge disservice to young black people and the young black men especially, and young black women as well. But let's be honest about it. There's been an assault on men and masculinity in this country, and that's been for everybody. I think the problem that we have adopted on the right is that we have tried to make problems black problems, white problems. So this is what the black community deals. This is a white community. Well, we don't really talk about the white community much, but we talk about
matter. They don't matter. Calm down.
And I'm not saying they don't matter, but I mean, we talk about the Hispanic community, we talk about the Asian community, we talk about Indians, we talk about all these other communities per se, right?
We don't talk about Asians anymore either. They're now white, according to California.
Oh yeah, that's right. And we never talk about the Jews. Never talk about the Jews.
No, they're great. I love Israel and the Jews. I just want to put that out there.
I'm down with Israel. I'm not down with the Jewish banking system, but we could talk about the Jewish banking system another time.
On D-Live.
No, we'll talk about it right down here.
All part of the coordinated effort to get ourselves kicked off of the YouTube.
We'll talk about it right down here. But no, so moving forward though, that's one of the issues that I think that we have allowed the left to control the dialogue here. Because when we really sit down and we look at the problems, we dig down to the root of the problems, we're all in the same mess together. right?
Right.
I mean, divorce rates are high in America, period. Fathers are treated
Is it
poorly.
over 50% yet?
I'm not sure, and those numbers are hard to really grasp at times because there's a lot of socioeconomic, a lot of other things that go along with those numbers. So obviously they're going to be different in some places than others. But I know that it's too damn high. I know that much. But the problem is we're not discussing uh, these issues as being American issues. And I think once people realize this is all part of the game. The game is to keep everyone in their own corners. Don't mix. Don't have
No.
discussions about what's best for America. Let's talk about, well, the black community or the gay community or think about just think about this, church. You're only 33. You're a youngin', right? But you just think for a second of all the communities that exist now that didn't exist when we were kids. There's no freaking gay community. There is no freaking people of color community. It was just the kid down the street, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
like if you were within walking distance of my house, you had an equal opportunity chance to be my friend.
and that's just it. But it feels like we've had all these communities formed in order to keep people separate. And the truth be known, masculinity is under assault right now. Men are under assault right now.
That all comes back to what I brought up earlier when I said that it's not a dim versus, not a red versus blue thing. It's not a binary thing. It never has been a binary thing. They make it look like a binary thing, so people that look like you and people that look like Soter will constantly be at odds with one another, so that, oh, well, you know, he has this unabashed white privilege, whereas you are just inherently a victim. There's no way you can be in the wrong, sir, because you have been victimized, and he's the goddamn devil because he is a white man, and that's just
Thank you
bullshit.
Thank you for saying it. Thank you for saying it correctly.
But no, it's just that's what these politicians have done to us as a community, and they've muddied the waters to a point where nobody sees. You know, I remember coming up, and I'm a big fan of tattoos. I don't know how you feel about, you know, tattoos or anything like that. I've got quite a few of them, and you know, they talk about it, and you know, back in the day of American traditional tattooing, you had, you know, black and white tattoos where it was a hard line and then a skin break, and a hard line and a skin break. And then as we got further and further into the style, you had what they called, you know, a grayscale tattoo, where you used black and white ink, but it was not a binary tattoo. It was shading. It was this beautiful gradation that showed depth and tone and everything. And that is what every issue in America is. But nobody looks at it like that. It is a shade of gray. It is a gradient. It doesn't, things that affect you in your income in your household are not the same that affect me and my income in my household, but they're the same goddamn problem when you break them down to the root issue. Just because you don't look the same as I do, and Soter doesn't look the same as I do, doesn't mean that we don't all have problems. And they're not binary. It's not black and white. It's not gay and straight. It's not man and woman. It's not trans and cis. It's none of these things on a binary level. It is not an us versus them situation. It is a, things are fucking broken and they need to be fixed. And nobody looks at it like that.
I feel like it's this. I feel it's like throwing 5 guys in a jail cell and saying, you guys are all going to die and rot in here, throwing them a knife or a shiv and saying, the last person standing gets to come out. Right. And seriously, I feel like you've got tensions rising. So you've got Dems, Republicans, then you've got blacks, whites, you've got Hispanics, you got all these groups, these
Soter showing his real face right now.
No, this is
Are you doxing me? Is that what's happening?
Yeah, I'm doxing you. This is what he really looks like, folks.
Yeah. Oh, you got some gay hair going on there. Oh crap! I can't say that. My bad. You have some weird hair going on there.
I thought you wanted to get kicked off.
This is homosexual.
You're doing a bad job.
So, but it is very true, right? It is very true that it's not gays versus straight. It's us versus them, but it's us, the people, versus the government. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, because I'll be real honest with you. Go ahead.
If it's us versus them, then why do we keep paying them? Why have we not done something about it? Why are we still voting for people that don't give a shit?
Well, I mean, in all reality, Sidney Powell.
Same reason people vote for Trump.
Well,
It's the best option.
It's the best option.
I have the choice between two bowls of shit.
You're wondering why people vote for the people who hate them. It's because they see them as the least evil option, the option of the two that they like the most, but they hate the least. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like me and Trump. Well, not me and Trump. Other people and Trump.
I think he just
voted for him because he wasn't Clinton. He wasn't Biden.
Yeah.
And they couldn't bring themselves to vote for a third party.
I agree with you. I agree with you on that. But I mean, I'll take for example. Let me say this real quick. Lynn Wood and the Kraken, Sidney Powell. They both said, hey, until they get this thing fixed, don't vote. Of course, the whole establishment went into a tizzy at that point. It was like, oh, no, we got to get those seats. And it's like, you know what? My life isn't going to change. Am I going to get taxed any less? I mean, because, to be honest, I haven't seen my taxes go down in any meaningful way. I mean, I've seen some tax cuts here and there, but I didn't see a whole lot of difference between Clinton in my taxes or George Bush Jr. in my taxes and Obama in my taxes. I didn't see a whole lot of difference between them, to be honest. Yeah, Obama passed DACA, big whoop. If George Bush Sr. or Jr. would have gotten what he wanted amnesty, right? So, I mean, there's not a whole lot of difference between the two and the agendas. There's a lot of difference between what they talk about, sure. But when they actually get into office, nothing changes.
You're not looking at it correctly, Q. He bombed the Middle East. He killed people that tried to kill us. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, thank you for my safety. But I brought this up as a point shortly after George Floyd died of COVID, right? Shortly after George Floyd died of COVID, we started talking on the show about we missed a great opportunity to have a discussion about over-policing in the United States. We had a moment right there and then, regardless of what happened with the situation, whether it was racially motivated or not racially motivated, we had a chance to have a discussion as a people and say, okay, what power do we want to give the government right now? Because there wasn't a single person that watched that video and said, get him. Yeah, that's right, Mr. Officer, get him. There wasn't a single person, at least that I know of, that watched that video and had that type of response, right? Everyone looked at that and said, man, there's got to be a better way to deal with that. That's messed up. There's got to be a better way to deal with that. And at that point, we could have talked about, okay, every time one of these blowhards in Washington makes a law, they give a man with a gun the right to enforce it, right? Mm-hmm. They're not enforcing the law. They give the right of someone with a gun to put that gun in my face and make me comply.
And that person that they gave a gun has no comprehension of the law that they just passed.
No, they don't. They're just told, hey, when somebody does this, this is what happens. You know, when Eric Garner got choked out in front of that place for selling cigarettes, let that sink in. But it was against the law.
Where am I going to get my fucking Lucy's now? God damn it!
So what? No, tell me this: had that law, whatever
why
that
did the officer
was,
shoot him? He just wasn't wearing a face diaper. Oh!
No, but
because he was going to kill Grandma. That's why he had to save Grandma. Never mind. They're all dying anyway because they, for some reason, can't keep it out of the long-term health care facilities. I don't know. They're all supposedly washing their hands, wearing their masks.
Can I just cut in real quick?
But Grandma's still dying.
COVID has taught me one thing. A lot of you motherfuckers weren't just washing your hands when you went to the bathroom. I just want to say that. The soap in the bathroom is running out a lot faster than it used to everywhere that I go. And that tells me that before a virus threatened to kill your ass, you weren't washing your hands after you wiped your ass. And that's disgusting.
Are you sure they just aren't using like 2 to 3 times the amount just to be super safe?
No,
I'm talking about the men's room, Soter.
Yeah.
I know, exactly. Are you sure they aren't just using 2 to 3 times the amount?
As a man, we do the bare minimum to get by.
No, I have to agree with my man. You know, I gotta agree with you. You know, it's really gross. The toilet paper's going faster too. I'm just saying.
Y'all walking around with some swamp ass and didn't even care. I don't even know how you live like that.
Didn't even give a rip. But you know, we had a chance to unify, and I feel like COVID was in the beginning. It was forcing people to unify a little bit. We were all in a really shitty situation together, and around about the time that people started to unify over it, and then right after the stimulus checks came, and people were like, "Oh, that was pretty decent." You know, hey, look, Trump got me a stimulus check, blah blah blah, and it was all, you know, stupid, but you know, people were actually starting to at least have somewhat of a positive outlook on, hey, we can beat this thing. We're all going to come together. And then, you know, all of a sudden we got riots. Now we have controlled opposition. Then, you know, oh, did you happen to see George Soros? I got it. I'm sorry. I know I'm all over the place. This is kind of a chill stream. So this is kind of what we do.
I'm fine with it. I'm good with it. I'm with you, brother.
So George Soros has declared who his successor is going to be. And no, it's not his son. This guy is is I don't know whether to call him the greatest troll of all time, but he decides
named his successor Donald Trump.
No. But his successor is going to be the executive from the Smartmatic or Dominion voting system.
Who is the nephew of Pelosi or some shit, isn't he?
Well, no, isn't that's Gavin Newsom, right?
Oh, okay, my bad. I don't know. I just know that the guy from Dominion actually has some kind of political ties as well.
Well, but it's interesting. I mean, I'm thinking, really? I mean, so you just give zero shits. I mean, because your name has been tied to this entire Dominion scandal, and now you're going to turn control over your foundation to this guy. Okay.
Well, what it was, Q, is they held a vote for who would take over for Soros, and they used Dominion voting software, so he just rigged it so that he would win.
Makes sense now. Makes sense. but I guess I went on the George Soros thing because we were talking about the looters and the rioters,
peaceful protesters. Yes, those stunning and brave protesters.
And it's interesting to me that my governor can sit there and talk about all the evil people who went to their mom's house for Thanksgiving, and thanks to them
on
now. Yeah. Well, I don't know if he got on a plane. I mean, I wish he would, but no, I don't think he got on a plane. But how we are spreading the virus, and we are sending people to the morgue in record numbers. But yeah, people could get out in the height of the virus in the middle of the summer, and they could protest, and they could scream, and they could yell, and we could see large numbers after that. But somehow it's the guy who decided to go see his mother for Thanksgiving that's killing everybody. I mean,
it all depends on how anti-racist you're being as to how your immune system holds up. If you're holding a protest in solidarity with George Floyd and those new kicks you're going to get from Foot Locker, then the virus isn't going to infect you because you have your anti-racist shield up. But if you're just going for Thanksgiving dinner, all that turkey and that tryptophan is going to lower your immune system, and you might get sick and infect grandma.
What if I am also protesting for racial justice?
Well, that's what I did. I got a black turkey, and I protested his death the entire time I was eating.
Now, is it more racist or less racist to eat the dark meat? Q, I really need to know. I got a bag of chicken thighs in the fridge, or not a bag, but a thing of chicken thighs. I really need to know.
I don't eat meat at all. I'm vegan. So.
I don't believe you at all.
Motherfucker's eating a tomahawk steak on stream right now.
Hey,
by the bone.
He would.
Yeah.
You know those times where he keeps dropping off? That's when he's taking a bite.
Taking a bite. There you go. Mm-hmm. Taking a bite of my brontosaurus burger. So, but no, I think that if everybody in America just ate a happier place, it just really would.
Taking a really huge bite.
If everybody in America just ate a happier place, they'd be better. We can't queue all the happier places are shut down, bro.
Oh man. So, but it's interesting to have this discussion with you, because obviously you see things in a similar light. We watch all of the things that are happening before us. It's a hell of a time to be alive. I mean, let's be honest. But we're seeing things, and I feel like it's frustrating because people aren't being honest with themselves, right? Come on now.
They aren't being honest with one another.
Well, I mean, come on, man. From the day that you heard that we were going to be mailing in votes, you had to expect that there was going to be massive fraud. Let's be honest. Come on.
Right.
This couldn't have taken anybody by surprise. Yeah, come on, man. Like you honestly thought
it took a lot of people by surprise. You know how many boomers I saw on my Facebook feed who were like, "Oh my gosh, can you believe how much fraud has happened?" I'm like, where have you been? I could see this coming back in February when people started freaking out about it. Mm-hmm. When they started talking about, maybe we should relax restrictions on how we do mail-in voting. Maybe we should have giant boxes in the middle of the street unmonitored where people can just drop off their ballots.
Yeah.
Of course, all of this fraud happened.
Nobody's going to Xerox their ballot.
No politician was like, hey, maybe we should not do this because, we kind of have a good way to make sure no fraud happens.
Well, one politician kind of
was spits in the face of all that. Maybe we should just keep things the way they are.
But he's orange, and nobody listens to him.
Oh yeah, who cares about orange people? Orange people are trash. They're barely even human. Like
they're the worst. They're terrible. They're not tremendous. They're not huge.
Their hands are small.
Tiny hands.
They have the smallest hands.
Yeah.
So of course fraud was going to happen, but you know what? My politicians, even I want to give them the benefit of the doubt, but even Tim Miller wasn't like, hey, we should maybe rethink about doing this. I mean, he's done his part. I think with he was part of the lawsuit that stopped counting votes after the third, or counting things that came in after the third.
Right.
But like it wasn't as, again, I wasn't paying too much attention to him specifically, but on a national or even state zeitgeist of the discussion, it wasn't, hey, you know what? We kind of have these things in place to stop fraud. Why are we pushing this, guys? Well, this doesn't seem to make sense.
It goes back to what I said earlier. It goes back to what I said earlier. It's not a Democrat or a Republican thing. It's an anti-Trump thing. They hate him because he ain't them.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably the truest thing you said all day. They hate him because, well, I don't know. Some people, he ain't them, but I think some people hate him because they ain't him.
Well, sure, but those people aren't politicians that are making more money than he has as president because he keeps giving away his fucking paycheck to charity.
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest FU he's ever done, actually.
I know, right? I don't need your money. I'm going to give it away. I'm better than all of the other presidents.
Yeah. Then you got AOC that says, I can't afford to rent an apartment in this place until I start getting some of my Congress checks. So
maybe go back to some bartending shifts and attend less Congress.
There you go.
Can you imagine her bartending in DC trying to make rent?
Oh,
no wonder she can only work 101 days.
That's right.
She's having to work the rest at the local bar.
She's moonlighting.
Do they get? She's a rep, right? They don't get Social Security. They don't get Secret Service, right?
No, but she probably has private security.
Threat.
I'm sure she has private security when she's in high volume areas.
Yeah, maybe. Well, maybe now that she has that check, she can.
Well, no, it's not even that. All of these representatives that have voted to defund the police in their home states, they all have private security when they go home, and it's usually state funded.
Having some guy outside your house all night, jeez, that sounds like a nightmare.
Hey, what are you trying to say? Do you want me to go home?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, I am.
Oh man. Well, I tell you what, guys, I have an early morning. I got to get to work, and plus we got to stream tomorrow with Rackets. So if you decide to tune in tomorrow, Church, maybe you have to call in and. You have to call in and give Rackets a little bit of crap for not losing faith that the old orange man can pull this one off.
I can't give him crap for losing faith, man, because the thing is, it's not him that's doing it. If it was Trump at the head of the pack, I would absolutely give him shit for it. But the people in charge of this, like Cindy Powell, first off, what respectable politician that you know, or even litigator do you know that would call their course of attack the Kraken? All right, this isn't Pirates of the fucking Caribbean. This is the nation of the free fucking world. Do not use metaphors like the Kraken. All right, every time I drink the Kraken, I end up fighting. I don't. I don't need a spiced rum ad with my political politician or with my political lawsuits. Okay.
Fair enough.
But anyway, I'll call in and I'll call in and give him a few ribs and then get the fuck out of here.
There you go. Well, hey guys, thank you so much for taking time to be with us. I know we were kind of all over the place, had a lot of stuff on our minds, had a whole lot of stuff to talk about. But tomorrow we'll be right back here. We'll post the link same time. Looking forward to seeing you guys all back here tomorrow. If you are not subscribed to the channel, be sure to press that button, subscribe. Make sure you like this show, like the video, bring somebody else with you next time. We want to continue to grow the channel so we can continue to bring you great content. Thank you guys. Have a great night. And God bless. Take care.
Same Q time, same Q channel. Get us the fuck out of here, Soter.
Good night, everyone. Oh no. Good night.